Morning.
Good
Hi,
hello.
Tara.
Hello. Okay, Tahira is not here.
Very much there.
Hi, Tahira. Good morning. She's on mute.
How are you, Shika? How's things going?
I'm good. Well, you should say. I would say it's going great.
Almost over.
Yes. Hi, Tahira. Very super early morning for you and for Christine as well.
No. It's super early for me. It's regular early for Christine.
Yes, exactly. I had a cup of coffee.
Oh, that's good news then.
Yes, good.
That's hers.
As big as my head needs to be.
Perfect.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of you for being here. I mean, I know the time zones are completely different. It's evening for Kenneth, late evening for Kenneth, early evening for Shrikant in India, and Tahira and Christine, super early morning. So thank you once again for being here. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to have all of you here, the stalwarts of the industry, and to hear from you. I mean, what better can we ask for? So, the topic of discussion for this panel is going to be about intimate weddings. And is it the future? If yes, then how? So, I'm super excited to hear the insights from all of you as to what are your opinions on intimate weddings. Is it what it is going to be in the coming future? Is it going to become the normal? Uh, to begin with, and before I give the stage to Shrikant Kanoy is going to be the moderator for this session. So I would just do a quick intro of Shrikant. Shrikant Kanoy is an experienced owner and a pioneer in floriculture in India, with a demonstrated 30 plus years history in the floral industry. Shrikant Kanoy is the founder of the company Ethereal Wedding and Event Industry and Venue Management. With over 50 years of combined experience in the industry, the team at Ethereal Celebration Management aims to deliver excellence everywhere, every time, right from event planning and wedding decor to entertainment and beyond. That's Shrikant Kanoy, and thank you so much, Shrikant, for being a part of this and being a moderator for this panel. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Shika. That was an amazing intro. I couldn't have done it better. And thank you so much
Thank,
for giving us an opportunity to be here today. Thank you to you, to Espousal, and to Team Zero In.
thank you so much.
So now I shall request all my panelists out here and introduce all of them to you one by one. The topic today being intimate wedding. Is it the future? And if yes, how? With the pandemic still evolving across the globe and social distancing restrictions still being imposed, couples have gone ahead in spite with intimate wedding ceremonies with a virtual aspect for friends and families to join in. The trend of intimate weddings are picking up quite fast. And in this session, experts whom I have with me out here will share their insights on this growing trend. I shall now have the pleasure of introducing one by one all of them. I have with me Tahira Entian. Tahira is based out of Vancouver and is the head of events for Site Global, which is the Society for Incentive Travel Excellence. And she's also the author of Intentional Event Design. Since the 1990s, Tahira has had a range of planning, producer, and design roles across the MICE sector and multiple industry recognitions for her contribution and deep industry involvement. She believes in the power of live events, amazing, and is embracing hybrid and digital events and loves anything with bubbles. This sounds interesting, Tahira. I would love to know more about this from you. Moving on to our next speaker, Christine Traulich, an endearing personality from New York. She is widely known for her innovative and experiential approach to branding, storytelling, and invitation design. Self described excitement maker, that's interesting. Her company, Red Bliss Design, creates jaw dropping moments for private clients. And guys, you all must check out her Insta profile, it's amazing. Notable brands and celebrities, including Atlantis Dubai, Cosmopolitan Las Vegas, Evian, I may have pronounced it wrong, L'Oreal, Opera, and Ryan Seacrest. Thank you, Christine, for being here with us today. And then, last but not the least, we have Kenneth Stephen Chan, GYHC Events, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Hi, Kenneth. Welcome back. He found his hidden talent as a wedding planner in 2009 and started to carve his career path in wedding planning in 2010 as a Chinese wedding chaperone. In 2016, he established GYHC Events, And to date, more than 200 happy couples have entrusted their most important day in his hand. Congratulations. Among his achievements, he's completed the wedding chaperone course in 2010 and minted the brand Sapyat Siu. Did I pronounce it correctly? Sapyat Siu.
Yep.
Thank you. The first and only wedding chaperone to be featured front page in an English local daily, The Star 2 in 2017. And the only Chinese wedding tradition course coach both online and offline in full English. That's amazing.
Shrikant, I just want to step in for a minute. Kenneth, you are having internet issues because you are logged in from two devices. Please log in only from one. Disconnect the second device, or else you will not be able to be here seamlessly. Please log in only from one device. Kenneth, can you hear us?
I think he's working on that.
It's done. One device now.
Kenneth, you're stuck for us. We can't see you move. I think better now. I think the second device is your phone. I would request you to disconnect your phone because you can't be here seamlessly then.
Yep, it has been disconnected.
All good, Shika?
Yeah, I just wanted to intimidate about the second device because he's losing out. I think, yeah, it's better now. Sorry, Shrikant, you can continue.
Okay, so where we left off was that he's the first course who's provided a course both online and offline in full English. And he's author for an upcoming book on Chinese wedding tradition, which he will be publishing in May 2021. And I'm sure you'll be sending me one, Kenneth. I would love to learn more about Chinese wedding tradition. He comes with a good experience in customer service spread across 12 years with Singapore Telecoms, Singapore Airlines, Chevron Malaysia, just to name a few. And this, in fact, has provided him with a good training ground. One, he's able to identify the couple's need even before they would mention it to him. And number two, good risk assessment practices that he applies in his daily day-to-day operations. He always likes to have ample time to work on his project, be it work or personal, due to his passion for yoga and mandala paintings. And his mantra for life, an amazing one. When there is a problem, there must be a solution. And if it's not there, there is no problem. So that's an amazing line to close by. So let's start with our topic today. Around the globe, we are seeing the number of guests to any event mandated by governments changing regularly based on the activity of the virus and the people in any given community. From 5 to 50, and now in India, 100, being typical current maximums, and a shift to hybrid weddings where the nuptials are shared on Zoom or any other online platform. Is this the future for the near term or for the foreseeable future? How about you? Let's start with Tahira. What is your opinion on the same?
Well, hybrid events have been around for a long time, and I think that they will be the future. With weddings, at any event, it's going to allow those who can't travel for any number of reasons the ability to share those really important moments of a special day. And I think that that is nice and something that we do want to continue on. So right now, it can apply to hundreds of guests if you're trying to round out the numbers you would typically have at some of the weddings that we see around the world, everywhere around the world. And in a post-pandemic world, it might be the way that you bring in just a smaller group of guests, so those who just simply can't travel to you. So there's a lot of different ways of doing it. You know, it could be that they are just watching the ceremony. It could be that you're actually carrying a tablet over and putting it on the table, and they're joining some family members that they wouldn't otherwise be able to spend that time with. So, you know, I think that we are going to get there and have that nice balance of digital meeting, live events again.
And Tahira, I was reading about you, and wherein you mentioned that you have been in the space of digital many years back, even before COVID came in.
Oh,
And
long
for you,
before.
yeah, so why don't you tell us something about that? It's very interesting.
Well, I think, the first time that I had anything to do with an event that was broadcast was 1996 when Vancouver hosted the 11th International Conference on AIDS. I think they're now at about the 28th or 30th. And it was, we didn't have 15,000 people, couldn't easily fit in Vancouver. And so they were accommodated far away. And so that was the first time we were laying T1 lines between venues at that time. So doing anything that was a hybrid, which is really what that was bringing together a live and a digital audience. We needed a lot more infrastructure, whereas now anybody can do it from their phone or their laptop and anywhere in the world. So the first time that we really started exploring hybrid events was around 2010, 2011. And there was a series of events that happened called Event Camp.
A decade back.
Yeah, so 10 years ago, we were really diving into how do we do them better, and including all of the things that we're seeing happen now. So gamification and ways to connect different pods of people. So I was pretty comfortable actually when we had to make this big switch for what for most of the world was a big switch, and people now really, really ramping up on how to do it. It was a space that we were pretty easily able to walk into. I feel like, Christine, you're probably the same. This is not your first rodeo, I don't think, with broadcasting something.
Yeah, I think what has happened is that we're now where technology before may not have been maybe quite as accepted sometimes at events, especially social events, certainly less so corporate, but certainly social events, where everybody's just with their phones away and everybody, no technology zones. Now we're in a position where we need the technology more so now than ever. And Tahira, I really like your point about how moving forward, there's, sometimes you can't bring maybe older relatives to your events or maybe distance, very far distances causes folks not to be able to come to a special gathering. And so I love how this is opening up our ways of communicating with those that can't be there in person virtually and causing us all to accept that and make that part of our celebrations. It makes it more inclusive all the way around.
Well, if you think about also how the world has changed in the last, the people moving from rural areas into more urbanization, traveling globally. I spent the 2 years where I was gone literally 50% of the time and working every day. This is the new norm for people. So just because somebody plans a wedding on a Tuesday doesn't mean everybody can necessarily be there live on Tuesday, but what a nice way to be able to bring them in. And I think you're really right too about that, the social events and where it wasn't acceptable, whereas now it is more acceptable to, we're trying to make everything Instagrammable. And, that was sort of our first foray into sharing an event with technology. And now we're just trying to do it in a way that is just a little bit more, almost just more video than stills.
As of now, yes. Yes.
Definitely.
Interesting, Tahira. And the way I see it, if you cannot go to a wedding, for whatever reason, let the wedding come to you.
Now
the guest needs,
have to figure out how to get them all some virtual flowers.
Right. I can help.
You will put me out of business by going in for virtual flowers.
Not if you're the first one to design the bouquets.
But that said, a physical presence in a wedding has its own charm. The travel experience, the soaking in of the local culture, the aroma of the exotic spread, and the magic it displays with your taste buds. The sound of laughter, the hugs and touches of the near and dear ones, meeting few relatives after a decade or two. These moments will always be missed. What do you have to say about this?
I think the challenge right now is that you really who would ever have imagined that we would be at a time where you would be nervous about going to a wedding or a funeral or any kind of celebration with your friends outside of a backyard barbecue with your bubble of 6 people where you're outside because it could be dangerous to your life. This is call it, let's just go with that word we all hate, unprecedented, but it's the reality that we're living within events. And, I'll tell you that my current frustration with what we see happening, I live in Canada, very close to the US, and our numbers and responses are so different. India is really, as we know, struggling right now with this pandemic. And as much as we want to get back to live events, and all of us want to get back to live events, millions and millions and millions of people have their livelihoods at stake, their lives at stake because of it. But we do need to actually just think about right now, we need to have this little pause. We need to take a break and figure out, what, we can still connect to people in ways just like this. We're thousands of miles apart, the three of us, and we're still able to have a meaningful conversation. So we need to really figure out how to nail this down right now. And when we get to things like weddings, how do I talk to Grandma, Auntie Bob, Uncle Sue, and all of those people that really, really matter to me and make them part of my day with
I hope
technology?
they are watching you.
And, they're going to watch you, but how can we also interact with them, right? So how can we send them a gift ahead of time that makes them feel part of the experience? How can we, how can they have a champagne toast with us? What are going to be those moments that we can build into our time that isn't just about them watching us? It's not just a broadcast, but it really is about making it an inclusive experience.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. I think it's so important that we are willing to adapt right now and embrace what new traditions might pop out of this, or new opportunities might pop out of this. I think, it is hard to let go of the tried and true traditions of our, respective countries and what we want to do, especially at weddings. But I don't think that means we can't adapt in some way and create new meaningful opportunities to share that moment with each other. And I really also do love this idea of sharing in advance. I mean, I've been kind of calling them, it's not a sexy word, but like a mailed experience, like sending something that brings a little bit of that special day to each guest currently at home.
How do you plan to do this? Can you elucidate on this a little?
Yeah, I think, and I mean, imagine how this, right now it might be something bigger and bolder. But in the future, it's also, I always think about when folks have weddings, there's always some people that can't come for whatever reason. So why are we excluding them? We talked a little bit earlier about bringing them in virtually, but also let's send them a little care package if they can't actually be present. So being more inclusive of what some of us might find as, barriers to getting to these events. And right now, we're dealing with the biggest barrier of all. So I think we need to embrace and adapt what we can do right now.
Right.
Let's get Kenneth while he's here. So Kenneth,
Welcome back, Kenneth.
what is going on? Tell us what's happening with the weddings that you are seeing and adapting. How are your guests, your brides and grooms, adapting?
Well, over in Malaysia, I would say many times a lot of my current clients, they are taking the option of postponing it to next year for the whole reason that they still find it's quite how should I put it in a more diplomatically correct way, is they're still finding it that without the physical people there, they are still they are not enjoying the day itself. They totally agree with having the online part, for people who are unable to be there with them, but or at the same time would like to celebrate this special day with them. But at the same time, they would still want to have as much people gathered in a room, possibly just to enjoy
Which I think that's human nature. Of course we would rather be together. So,
Right.
and we'd like to be hugging. We just
Man, I can't wait. I can't wait till we can all party again.
I think it's actually right now the bride has the advantage because she can just get a really big dress.
Sorry,
Sorry, I can't quite reach you.
My daughter was out yesterday celebrating her birthday in New York with friends. I hope it's safe.
I'm sure. I bet she was. I'm sure she was outside at some amazing restaurant. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, how about giving an example or two? Because now this is something which we cannot escape from. Intimate wedding for the near future is very much there to stay for the next 6 months, 8 months, 12 months. What can our viewers think of? What can we suggest to them? At least a couple of points from each of us that they can implement in their wedding to ensure people who are not there are also feeling a part of the wedding.
Can I'd love to just know because I'm not as familiar with,
Mhm.
but Kenneth, you do a lot of weddings that are both a Chinese wedding or an Indian wedding, two typically very large in numbers
Right.
of live events. So, and they also are multiple day, have large temple experiences. So tell us about what's happening there.
Tahira, if I may, Kenneth, if you don't mind, I just want to ask Tahira one thing. I remember you telling me something about a tablet on a round table, and I found that very interesting. Would you like to tell us more about it?
Well, I just thought, I mean, I have, I work on a Surface, but what if I just took my Surface and I, was at a wedding and I just put it on a table and now I was a guest with my family because I couldn't be there live.
In fact, what she had also told me, and I really love that idea, is if we are sitting on a round table, 6, 7 of us, or 4 of us, and we want to include friends who have not been able to come, each and every round table can have a tablet or two. And we can bring in those people on that round table with whom we want to converse. And I think that's a lovely idea. That if we are a group of 10, 12 people and only 4 or 5 of us have been able to make it, let there be a tablet on the table and we can bring in the others to join in on a conversation. So that was a wonderful idea you've spoken about, Ranga. Yes, Kenneth, what's your suggestion on the same?
Well, at this moment, with the upcoming weddings that I'm having now, it's definitely a way smaller scale that at this point, for example, upcoming on the 10th of October, uh, my client now is having a problem of which guest not to invite. You see, because the initial estimation was we are talking about 600 packs. Yeah, but then ended up now they have to revise the whole guest list and look through and just at this moment I think they're scaling down into less than 100 packs. Just really immediate family members. I guess it's only about less than 10 friends, and yeah. So for a typical Chinese wedding, to be honest, it's a bit tough when you have a clan as part of your family. It's not just only your family alone, but we are talking about at least 3 generation of people, which is still a very common norm in I believe in India is so, and for Southeast Asian, it's still very common that you have 3 generations where your dad's generation is going to be like the almost 7 to 8 of them, and then with their children and their daughter-in-laws or son-in-laws. So just immediate family alone, we are talking about half of the guest list gone. Yeah. So and the other thing is the all the decorations or all the arrangement that has been done is all being scaled down so low that they are practically saving on their whole wedding budget. There's no need to be worried about insufficient budget in this juncture, especially for the upcoming, for at least I would say the next 3 weddings that I'm going to have is having a good problem, I would say, for now, you see. But weddings that is happening in January onwards, I see that there are a little bit of trend going back to the normalcy that we are.
Are you seeing that people are spending more money on production and video and photography? Oh no, he's frozen. How about you, Christine? Are you seeing that your budget's shifting towards more production as like catering goes away and Are they actually understanding how to invest in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've spoken to some of my event planner friends, and I think there's definitely a bigger.
Honestly, at this moment, because in Malaysia.
Ah,
Oh
shoot,
no.
he's back.
he's back.
Yeah, so I was just saying that there's definitely been an investment in the technical side for sure. I think the challenge is when you have here in the States, it's been all over the place in terms of how many guests are invited and allowed, because it varies from state to state. But I would say on average, you're looking at about 50 tops right now in most states around the US. And while the overall budget, certainly is less for, less people, the per person spend is a little higher because you're still investing those resources and every vendor's time to bring in their talents. But in terms of how that budget is being divided, it has shifted a little bit. I do see more on the video production side, absolutely. And catering is now a very important part of it, ensuring that the way folks are organized, in a room, the way the food is prepared and how it's served, the way silverware is wrapped and contained, that's, become a big part of the safety as well as the celebratory aspect of it. So catering has been a big one.
Right. Kenneth, we lost you in between. Would you like to continue?
Sorry. Yeah, as I was a bit of recovering normalcy back in January, the weddings that I'm having in January. So I'm hoping that come January things is still going is slowly picking it back, but then again at this current moment in Malaysia we are actually under the recovery mode of our lockdown. So it has already been extended all the way until the 31st of December, and we are not sure will it actually extend beyond. But like what Christine mentioned just now, a lot of precautionary measures is being taken up. Wrapped silverwares, special Ziploc bags given just for them to actually safe keep their masks, and all that is all in place. And then, of course, we do something we call the contact tracing here, where all guests has their temperature being taken with their details being given, and we on my side, me as the wedding planner, I got to safe keep all this information. And if there is a need, I got to actually submit it to the health authority, for them to actually review it, and so on and so forth. So these are all the little additional things where clients are not willing to actually go through. They just find it, what, for 100 packs going through all this trouble. I even have clients telling me that let's split the wedding into two different parts. They will still carry on with the customary where there is lesser number of people involved, which is going to happen in this year, and then followed by their big do with dinner. Come maybe some is actually looking in June next year, or in fact all the way to December next year. So yeah, that's a lot of balancing, and gladly, I guess within everybody's the vendors that we have around, they are also very willing to accommodate, because they know it's not by the client's fault they are doing all these changes. So they're pretty cool with it. Yeah. So these are a little bit of the tough part that we have to actually go through to have a wedding run smoothly now.
Kenneth, you were mentioning to me. I'm sorry, Tahira, please go ahead.
Yes, Sarah.
I was just going to say, any event, that's the struggle is real, right? So you want to put people together in a room, and now we have, who wants to go to an event and have their temperature taken and maybe have a COVID test, or stand 6 feet away from everybody? It's a whole different experience. I was just thinking, as we think about weddings in general, and because the question that we had was, are more intimate weddings the future? So if you go through the whole wedding process, don't you think that truly it would just be great if you could actually just have the 12 people that you wanted around you when you got married? Intimate weddings were the future. There's no business model for that, though. So,
Yeah.
and there's no family that's going to, really want that to happen. So when we ask that question, are intimate weddings the future? For a small percentage of the population, sure, but for the rest, it is about how do we get through the now, or as somebody called
Right.
it yesterday, this transition to normal.
And
um,
I'm sorry, please. Yeah,
sorry,
Tahira, please,
I
please
didn't hear
continue.
you.
Okay, so
I
my
was all
two
done.
bits on this is the clients need to understand that whether we have a 50 packs wedding or a 500 packs wedding, most of the costs are constant irrespective of the number of people there at the place. The venue remains the same. The air conditioning cost, the lighting cost for the venue remains the same. The gen support remains the same, generator support. If they're providing the food, obviously that comes down because they have to make food for a lesser number of people. But the overhead cost for making the food is there. So the per plate charges does go up per person if the client list is only 50 guests. Similarly, that for the decor, whether it's 50 people coming or 500 people coming, and if the venue size is the same, the decor cost remains the same unless, of course, the client is willing to bring down the volume of decor and the type of flowers which we are using. I would obviously like all my clients to continue using natural flowers vis-a-vis artificial flowers, but and the cost of the natural flowers continues to be high. The photographer, the photographer is there for his 4 to 5 hours, and the videographer. So whether he's covering 50 guests or 500 guests, unless of course he's bringing in a team of 4 people for 300 packs wedding vis-a-vis 2 people, his cost is not really coming down to that extent. So we as wedding planners have come into a kind of a fix wherein our cost remains the same. But the client's expectation is that you need to charge us low because our number of packs is on the lower side. It's a challenge which we are facing in India, trying to explain to them that the cost for us remains the same. The industry is going through a kind of a, not a kind of, tired of a major problem.
Yeah.
And we, in fact, at this point of time, need their support to ensure that the wedding becomes much more, an intimate wedding can be even more beautiful if we have 15, 20, 25, 30 close people. And then when we are beaming this across the world for the guest of theirs to see from each and every corner of the earth, we need to make that place even more beautiful now. Something which would have got probably hidden underneath 500 guests, not that same place is visible. Each and every corner is available and visible to whomsoever is watching it online. So my 2 bits on this is the quantum of decor needs to go up when we are doing a small scale wedding in a big venue because now everything is visible. If you had 500 guests, anything below 6 feet was not visible because the number of people around would kind of hide it. But not as of now. The
Well, and don't you
the
feel as designers, because this is, we have a room full of designers here. Don't you love the opportunities that you get with a small wedding where you're not just thinking about what does one table look like times 50, but when you can actually think about all those like amazing small touches that you can put in for your guests and if everybody gets, you can customize the experience so much more, make it so much more special for people. So I'd love to hear some examples of things that you guys have done that are those like little customizations.
I actually recently saw a very small wedding where the guests, when they RSVP'd, were asked to provide their favorite cocktail. And then as the guests arrived to the wedding, their favorite cocktail was waiting on a platter with their name on it. So when you have, 30 guests, you can totally do that. If you had 300, maybe not. So I think that's a great example of how you can really personalize that experience for those special 30 people as they, come in. You don't just have a glass of champagne, a tray of champagne. You have now, everyone has their own special drink. So I thought that was a fun example.
That's a
And it was
beautiful
a cover
example.
too, right? So you also got that safety
Yeah,
factor.
you can have, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. What are you seeing, Kenneth? I'm so curious about these things.
Well, surprisingly, that is actually one of the ideas that I came up with when I have my clients telling me that, you know what, I've got to scale out a wedding, we can only have this limited number. I said, cool. I said, like what Srikan mentioned earlier, all our cost is the same. There's not much changes a part of your catering. Maybe decoration, I can actually scale down a little bit, but majority of it, there's nothing much we can actually there's not much we can actually scale down. So I said, you know what? Since you have paid, all right, let's do it a different style. Let's have a after party. You see, because in Malaysia, I'm not sure about India, but I do know in Canada, in US, the after party after the wedding is actually where the happening part is. Yeah. But
Yes,
in
it happens in
Malaysia, the trend here is unless my couple have actually studied or they have stayed in States for a while and they come back to Malaysia, that's where they understood that they want the after party. They know what's the meaning of after party. Somehow, if they were actually all locals, I mean, in terms of born and bred here, then they won't have that understanding of after party. They will find that, oh, it's a waste of money and so on and so forth. But now with them scaling down, they will still have to bear certain of the costs, the cost of the wedding, where nothing much can be done about it. There will be no refunds, and so I said, why not convert it into an after party? And they are more receptive this way for the fact that they can actually make good use of what they have already paid, you know.
right.
And I've even one of my clients, I even upgraded their drinks to champagne, you know. And they were like, no, are you sure we can afford it? I said, it's well in your budget, so why not spend it? You're not getting it back anyway, you know. So I give them the value, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, great, let's do it, and so on. So yeah, what Christine just mentioned is really just is how I would say this whole pandemic has made us realize that we just got to reintegrate. I'm not sure if that's even a word, but then we have to just reintegrate ourselves into the existing condition and see, or perhaps actually take back some of our old ideas where we have not seen for the past maybe 4 years, 5 years, yeah, and bring it back, and then you're like, okay, this is something that we have not seen for a while, So yeah, these are the times that I guess we as wedding planner we got to really have bring back the oldies. They will say bring back the oldies and make things more fun for the whole wedding. Yeah, like one of my client, they wanted something special for their invitation card. I said very simple: send each of your guests a bottle of sanitizer and a face mask with your invitation on the face mask. Yeah, and which is just another insert. So they you find that it's very considerate, and in order to get entry, all your face mask has a certain they actually had a stamp specially made for the mask. Only guests with that particular face mask are allowed entry. The
Clever.
rest, I'm sorry, you're going to be turned away at the door. So oh, cool. This is just like going down to some exclusive clubs, where you must have special invitation. I say exactly. It's just a different way of giving them that exclusivity feeling, that they will really enjoy it. Yeah. So these
Made
are
it a mask with a big speech bubble that said congratulations.
yeah, we actually that idea too. We did. But then it's like because of the packaging and so on and of the shape, hence they decided, just that insert. But yeah, with the special stamp, and we are talking about wax stamp. It's not just another ink stamp. So they find that, oh, okay, this is really different. This is really, really different. Yeah.
That's so great. I wanted to, Srikant, you had mentioned a little bit about how, the decor, is still so important, even if it's a small wedding. And yes, the cost is, relatively similar because it's the same amount of effort and time and energy and maybe not as many flowers. But it makes me think about how, especially now as we try to include all the guests who are coming virtually, how to make that a more powerful visual experience for those guests. And I think, a lot of times, because we're all so new to this, we're all figuring out, but, it's just boom, you show the couple getting married and that's it. And, and there's just, it maybe doesn't go beyond that. And imagine if there was a way to take the work, the physical work that's happening in the decor. Maybe there's some changes that happen to it to make it more of a visual experience for the guests tuning in virtually. Could be, like imagine a virtual photo booth. Imagine you create an area where guests, are brought to virtually, and somehow the guests can put their face, on that backdrop and take a photo. And now it's a virtual photo booth. Like, I think there are so many creative ways we can make this more inclusive for everyone and make it a very fun experience too, and not so
virtual video booth where people can actually come in and leave their message for the bride and the groom.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right, take that virtual background. And you know what? It's really, so I was talking to somebody yesterday about, in Zoom, I haven't until this week been able to create virtual backgrounds. So this is my background. This is my real life. I'm sitting in my office at 6 a.m. It always looks the same, doesn't matter the time of the day. What he did is he actually just took a picture of his actual office, but uses that as his virtual background so that, if his wife comes in during the day, because now everybody's working at home. So we could do that with the wedding. So you could send out as part of your invitation or your RSVP process that virtual background that is going to replicate what's happening in that live setting. Mm-hmm. And people could drop that in and then do a video message.
Yeah, and how fun if those virtual backgrounds, maybe there were 3 or 4 or 5 versions, and they were all designed around, the decor that was going to be at the wedding. It would just be really cool and personal. And then to take that a step further, imagine being able to then send all of those guests like a box with a small arrangement of the florals, a slice of cake from the party, and, some other fun little thing that they can kind of just feel a part of it in some way.
I love that.
We had used the idea of a virtual background for a 75th birthday of a client, and it was amazing. All of us had the same background for the party, and there were badges which were sent across to all of them. So they were wearing the same badge which said happy 75th. So the same thing can obviously be replicated for a wedding. It's a lovely idea. It sounds very interesting. And we can probably take a photograph of the floral decor which has been done behind the couple, and we can use that immediately as a virtual background for everyone who's attending the wedding and not attending the wedding. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like having the virtual background. Honestly, who doesn't know how to edit the virtual background? I guess even if you have your standard template, when it arrives at their hands, some of them may just add in their own personal touch, and slightly redecorate it to a different a feeling or after, and recently, because of the whole lockdown, I actually had a wedding where they had to, they instead of postponing it, they decided to cancel it. They call it off. But then what happened is they actually, and they were lucky. They managed to get most of the refunds and so on. So what they did is they bought beers, all right, and start sending them to all the guests. Because at that, the only thing that works is the postal service. The rest is practically on a standstill. So they actually send out beers, and in fact he took the effort and print out small stickers onto the beer cans and said that, what, I really hope that we were holding this can together now, but unfortunately of the situation. So and the response was like crazy
I love
over
it.
media, over Facebook. It's like he's practically got up to this wedding was in July, and now we are already in the mid of September, and he's still getting new texts every day.
I love it. That is so clever and fun. I think that's a big part of it. We want to have fun. And I don't think we should sometimes maybe take it all so seriously. And if we can inject some fun into it, we're all sitting at home, we're all out of our minds. Like, I want to laugh, I want to smile. Send me things that are going to do that. So,
And she's just sitting on a 200, what's that? 200 old barn with all the
oh, my
openness
barn, yeah,
around.
200-year-old barn.
No,
Where
already
my
around
husband and I are
6 or 7.
thinking we should have weddings there now.
Kenneth, I remember you telling me that the weddings in Malaysia, for the Chinese custom, the wedding happens within the house itself,
Yeah.
wedding function. So that means as of now, no venues are being booked in case the reception is not happening. Everything is happening within the house.
Yeah, you can actually say so. Most of the venues here, regardless whether is it a hotel, I guess hotel is still pretty stable because of a lot of all the necessary procedure regulated by the authorities are being followed accordingly. And of course they are more they took extra precaution on that. So in terms of the venue for hotels are still pretty secure. But we are talking about venues like wedding halls or function rooms and so on. Those venues are all totally out now, and like I say, a lot of times, the morning ceremony always happens at home. Yeah, so it's a pretty norm that the morning ceremony doesn't affect the venue. It's more of the evening ceremonies. You see, because like in Malaysia, we have something called the registration of marriage. This is where you get your marriage license.
Mhm.
Yeah, and thereafter, then you will have to do the customary wedding, where this is where all the traditions comes in. So it can be split into 2 different days, or all together, or in fact a year apart. It's totally fine. It's just that for those who are actually registering themselves for the marriage certificate or the marriage license, then the outdoor venues are being affected very badly. Easily, I spoke to a few venue owners. They said almost about 60% of their booking has already been cancelled or put on hold to further notice, which they have to oblige due to that. It's no fault of their client that they are not cancelling it, but it's just that they are not sure when we can actually have it. And usually, I'm still talking about crowds that is very small, 50 packs, at most, to not more than 100 packs, between the 50 to 100 packs. Hence, they are still not very confident or comfortable of having it. Or like the same thing on the 10th of October. There are actually from the local registrars, they were telling us that there are actually 60 couples that are getting registered on that day itself. But I know how huge the venue is going to be, and I told them, look, regulated is based on the venue size, okay, the square feet or the square meter of the venue. Each of us must have actually a 1 square meter apart distancing. So are we able to do that or not? If not, then you may be the authorities, but you're still getting into trouble. There may be people taking pictures or taking videos and start circling onto the social media, and they say, oh, they are taking a lot of precaution. So yeah, so like now, a lot of the decor, we are actually trying to move it into the house instead of spending it on the venue, or maybe they have to scale down on the venue. We are actually moving it into the house, taking it how we can actually in a way beautify the place more, so that they have more beautiful pictures and like for the those that is online, they can actually have a different environment all in all, like as if they are there at the venue. Yeah, so these are the things that we are actually doing. Me and my vendors, we are trying our best to accommodate as much as we could, within the possible means. Yeah,
Tahira, you have so much of a immersive experience in the digital space. I would love to hear from you as to what is the best way forward, keeping your 10 years of experience, which was not in COVID times, but how can we use that experience going forward?
It's like any event, it's think about how people are going to engage, think about how long we can engage for. We know if we're creating a learning environment, for example, you have about 11 minutes to keep someone's attention. Well,
yeah,
that actually applies to anything. So when we start to think about, if we start with digital events, we need to stop thinking about them as an event and we need to start thinking about them as a TV show.
Right.
And we need to think about them as a TV show as when we were kids, when you didn't PVR it, DVR it, save it for later, watch it on demand. You wanted to watch Disney. It was 6 o'clock on Sunday night. Nothing else was happening at that time. You had your dinner before that so that you could, as kids, like sit and watch it. And then take that Disney principle of bring back the witch. So Disney knew that as soon as kids got comfortable, bring back the witch, that we actually want to feel things when we're watching something. So
hmm
create moments when we're building these events, when we're building the wedding. Don't just have, the bride walking down the aisle and that takes a long time till she gets to the front. What else is happening during that time that's going to make it, what are the shots that you're looking at? Is it the groom's face? Is it the mother's face? Think about cutaways. Think about actually how you're producing something so that it's engaging. Have a narrator, so it's make it, story. You have to storyboard your events basically. So even if it's now a wedding, as soon as you're broadcasting it, storyboard it. Make it so that it's interesting, happening, continually moving. Think about the backgrounds and the backdrops, and the music and the emotion. That's
That's a lovely point, Tyre. In
Yeah,
fact, that
I
means,
love it.
yeah, yeah, please, Christine. I love this
Yeah,
point.
I love that. And I think, imagine too, actually speaking to your audience. So, oftentimes you're just, it's just the wedding party, the intimate wedding party, just kind of speaking and interacting amongst themselves. But imagine, looking into the camera and expressing the joy and being showing your happiness that they're there with you virtually. And so I really like that idea of really thinking about it beyond just, a home movie, and really thinking about it more as truly a production,
yeah.
and how to make it and how to engage those guests.
I would
and the other
also
thing
like to say, yeah, please, Tyra, please continue.
I was to say, we have literally millions of professionals around the world that can help them do that. So
Right.
it,
Yes.
it is
We probably
about
need a storyteller along with the photographer now and the videographer who can put in the story and ensure everything is happening in a proper way and bring in the surprise elements which you're talking about.
surprise and delight.
Another thing which I, yeah, please continue,
That's
please.
all.
Okay. Another thing which I would like to suggest is we should have a couple of screens put up wherein the viewers also can be shown rather than it being a one-way communication of only showing the bride and the groom and the people in the room. We should have snippets of people who are watching it, their emotions, their voice, their comments, their witty comments, their jokes on the couple. All that also should be filtering in their shouts on those joyous occasions. As soon as we have the sounds coming in and the visuals coming in of people across, that will again make it a very immersive impact. Then we are not
Yeah.
talking about 50, we are talking about more than 50, 75, 100, 150, 200, whom we can see. We turn our face around, we can see them. We can probably pan onto a couple of them, like put the spotlight on a couple of people when they are talking, and do the general screening for the like what we have on a Zoom screen.
Well, and also, how many amazing, toast to the bride or groom or couple have you seen? And also, how many really tragic? So imagine if you could edit those.
Yes. Do a montage.
We are almost on the edge of our time. I don't even know how this 1 hour is almost up. Before we wind up, I would like all of you to tell me the best compliment you have received till date from your clients. One best compliment you have received.
My very favorite was when we planned our first really hybrid event, which was Event Camp Vancouver, where we really, really dove into what we were doing. And we did it as an entire collaboration. So it was bringing together, we had about 100 people in a room and another 150 or 60 online. And because it was so new, people actually stayed online to see what was going to happen. But everything was done in partnership, collaboration, in kind. There was no cash sponsorships. There was no, it was just everybody coming together to figure out how to make it happen. And at the end of it, there was two women in particular who built a game for us, because that is also when mobile apps were very new. So they built a game around sustainability where we ended up with that number of people in 2.5 days doing more than 1,700 acts of green. And we just had these amazing results that came out of it. But at the end of it, she wrote a blog post after spending hundreds of hours building this brand new thing, and gave me my favorite job title ever, which was Dream Wrangler. So the person who's willing to create the vision and do the work. And I just thought that was the best. If I ever have a job title again that is amazing, that's what I'm going to go back to.
And where does the bubbles come in from?
I like anything with bubbles. Anything, it doesn't matter. Aero bar, champagne, bubbles in a yard, bubble bath. It's anything with bubbles.
Christine, what about you? Your favorite moment?
Yeah. So I have this one client. She's been a legacy client. I've been working with her for, my gosh, probably 18 years. And I've done her children's mitzvahs. I've done birthday parties throughout the family. And recently, her husband was having his 60th birthday. And she is a client who really loves to do what's never been done before, which is my favorite client. And so we got to talking about this concept. And one of the concept was sending a chocolate box with the invitation inside, and guests had to, bust it open to get to the invitation. And I told her she was crazy. I said, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? And it had to be delivered in August, like 100-degree, time of the year. And I could not see a path. And she said, no, we need to figure this out. And she's always challenged me, and we figured it out, and it turned out to be amazing. And so I just feel like, to me, her faith in me and knowing that we could figure it out together is the biggest compliment.
Wow.
To really trust you to see a vision and to help her execute. So,
what about you, Kenneth?
I guess as of today, my favorite it will be this. I have this groom who actually grew up in overseas. He has never grew up. I would just say he only spent the first 5 years of his life in Malaysia, and thereafter he's being sent to UK on boarding school all the way, and he's also working there. So practically the whole life he spent in UK. So in UK, it's not common to actually see such traditional wedding. Yeah. So when he came back to do his wedding, of course, mom has the final say, and mom says that, you know what, you had your garden wedding in UK, in Malaysia, you're going to do the my way, So mom actually gotten my service and want me to walk them through the whole tradition and so on and so forth. The groom was not very happy with it. The bride, whereby it was like, oh, okay, I don't mind going along, and of course through the whole process, the groom, well, Christine, your client challenged you in a very positive way, but mine is not exactly a positive challenge. But for me, it's like, you know what? bring it on. I just enjoy your challenges. At the end, and what he did was during the morning ceremony, he actually had the whole garden being made into like a garden wedding. Although
Wow.
it's actually the traditional ceremony. So of course, mom is not very happy. But I told mom, you know what? Just leave it. We will just go on accordingly. And of course, like I said, because he spent most of his life in UK, so all his guests are actually from overseas. I have people coming from Nigeria. I've got people coming from UK, of course, the Eastern Europe part, and so on and so forth, and the States. So when they came, and most of the time during the traditional ceremony, I got to do it in either Cantonese or in Mandarin. So what I did is before I moved into every single part of the whole tradition, I stopped, I took a while, explain it in English so that there is a bit of interaction, with all the overseas guests. At the end of the wedding, after the dinner, he came up to me, he actually said, Kenneth, I'm so sorry. I was actually I got a shock, and the groom's one was just like maybe 2, 3 feet away from us, and I was like, okay, where is this coming from? Because for me, is I know I've proved myself, I've done myself well, I've shown you my professionalism, and you shouldn't have any more complaints, But what he did was he came up to me and apologized to me and said that, you know what, you have done such a beautiful wedding. There's no way if I were to actually do this in UK, I would not actually have something so memorable. And so I said, the simple fact is because you don't understand. Your mindset is just some old wives' tale. It has nothing to do with that. You just need to understand the traditions, and that's it. And to be honest, all the time throughout my 10 years in the industry, people who actually appreciate all these traditions are not the locals, are not the Chinese, surprisingly. It's actually the guests from overseas, regardless which part of the world they can come from. They are the one that come up to me and compliment me and say that, oh, it was a beautiful wedding, it was really an eye opener, and but not the locals. So when the groom came up to me and say that, apologize and thank me, the later part, the groom's mom came up to me and said, Kendall, you really did a good job. My son doesn't apologize easily. So like up to today, this is still one of my favorite story, that I always share. Yeah.
My
Back to
favorite
you, Shreya.
moment before we sign off was one. It was a sad moment, in fact, because we were ready. It was the 1st of Jan, and in the morning, we were ready with the setup, and the entire arrangement was made. And the client called up and said, "Shrikant sir, my wedding has been called off, and I
Oh,
won't be getting married today." It was obviously one of the worst thing possible. You have put in you feel very bad for the guest. You feel very bad for all the efforts which has gone in to create that beautiful moment. She did come down to the venue also. Uh, but that was about it. We lost touch with each other for almost a year or year and a half. And then one fine day, she gives me a call and she tells me, Ki, sir, I've got some good news for you. I'm getting married again. And I would love to know when are you free. Based on that, I will book my wedding date. I don't think
wow,
I've ever come across something like this in my entire 25 years. No one has
wow.
ever come and told me, when are you free? I will book my date based on your availability.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, really.
So
Okay,
that's a
well enough.
positive.
That's so nice.
Yeah,
She's here
Shikha.
to tell us it's all
If you wouldn't
over.
have come in, we would have continued for another hour or so. Shikha, all
Well,
yours.
that's the reason I thought I should step in now because we're running out of time. Well,
Yeah.
this was definitely entertaining. I mean, I could see you guys were enjoying talking and more. It wasn't like, a panel discussion, a serious discussion, stick to the topic. I have listened to, I think, every aspect of the wedding industry from designing to what's going to happen next. It was beautiful. Everything was covered. And I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was there the entire time, and you guys were having fun. You guys were loving it, joking. I mean, it was a mixture of everything, and I couldn't ask for a better panel to end the panel discussions with. This was thoroughly entertaining and amazing. Thank you so much for being a part of this. It was amazing and an honor to have you all on board. And Shrikant, you have done an amazing moderation for this panel. So thank you so much for taking that up.
That always happens because of the people who are there. So thank you so
Yes.
much, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tahira, Christine, Kenneth. You guys have been amazing, and hoping to see you all in India and meeting you all in person. I mean, definitely looking forward to that. So yes, Kenneth says a yes. I'm waiting for you, Kenneth.
Oh yes, yes. I've always been wanting to go India. So yes, when the airport is open, if the opportunity arises, I will be there. Trust me.
Yes.
One
Amazing.
question for Shika, which is because we talked
Yes.
about this when we did our first briefing. Have you booked your spa appointment?
Oh, well, yes, Arvind should be doing that. So I'm going to ask him about it. I'm glad you still remember this, Tahira. I mean, your memory is really good. So to the others who are still thinking what's going on, Tahira had strictly told me the first time when I spoke to her about espousal, she said the day espousal gets over, the next day Arvind is going to book a spa appointment for the entire team members because of the amount of hard work we have put in. So she's
Yes,
just
I love it.
reconfirming that.
Oh,
Well
yes,
deserved.
yes.
So yes, Tahira, I'm going to go ahead with that. Thank you for reminding me about it. So thank you once again, everyone. It was lovely speaking to you all, and definitely looking forward to connecting with you even post this. So
Well, thank
thank
you.
you for being here. Bye-bye.
Bye. Lovely meeting all of you. Take
Same.
care.
Yes.